Brush for hire. You've been here for 5 years. Here's to 5 more. Brush for hire. Don't paint your own shit.
Welcome, everybody, to Strength Hammer Episode 12 podcast, the 5th anniversary celebration for Age of Sigmar. I got, as you heard. Okay, thank you. You get pander later.
Thanks, Mom. Thanks.
We have Matt Hayward.
Woo!
Neil LaRocca.
Hey now.
Woo!
And David Roke, pouring a drink, making clinky noises.
Hello.
Clinky Dave.
Yeah. So
How'd you know my nickname?
ASMR that, Dave. Pouring water. Crisp, refreshing water. All right,
I
anyway.
can't hear myself on the mic.
Oh, we can hear everything. Don't you worry. We can hear you twisting open that bottle slowly, trying to be silent. No, we didn't hear whatever you just did with your tongue. Anyway, welcome to the latest episode of Strength Hammer. I want to give a shout out to Aaron Boschian, who's kind of rallying a bunch of content creators to do a Age of Sigmar 5-year anniversary type thing. So this should be releasing July 3rd, the day before July 4th. Happy Independence Day early, everybody. Unless you're in the UK, then happy.
America!
I think the bars are opening.
Pew.
I think
No,
July
they just
4th.
closed them.
Oh, they did. Well, no. I think in England on July 4th they're opening all the bars, so they're finally having a holiday on July 4th, so they don't need to just hate on us anymore.
Pew, pew, pew.
Well, and when it releases July 3rd, it's just a delayed reaction for the Canadian. Canada Day is July 1st.
Oh,
Bunch of show-offs.
I have no idea what that is, but it's Canada Day.
It's
So.
Canada Day. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to, if you're listening to this on release day, having a nice light beer in my hand, shooting off some fireworks, maybe some target practice, everything American, riding some bald eagles. Yep.
Hell yeah. I can't. My bald eagle should be in here by Thursday, and my fully automatic bazookas should be in Wednesday. That's
See, I ponied up this year. I went for the full tank. I'm like, I'm just buying a tank. Let's just go for it.
that's next year. I'm on the waiting list.
Okay, I got
The minute that annoying neighbor complains about your fireworks, you just unload.
Shooting fireworks out of the tank. It's gonna be great.
I have one of those nice. I have one of those nice Abrams, all reserved with the special speaker upgrade, so I can play the ba-dun, da-dun, 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 and then boom, just.
What skin did you get for it? Did you go classic camo? Did you go I went tiger stripes.
I went mirrored chrome.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
Mirrored.
Man. Yeah. So
That
Color
just
shift
go
ammo.
ball finish.
yes. Yeah. Before that happened, thank you, Aaron Boschian, for the work you're putting in to get everyone, content creators, organized to all kind of celebrate the 5th year of Age of Sigmar. So. There is other things. I'll try to put them into the show notes below. Links, at least a link to the schedule, so you know where to find everything. But yeah, so let's before we get into our main topic, talking about 5 years of Age of Sigmar, we'll go through our usual hobby progress and fitness tracking. And I think we're gonna start with Neil this time because you've had a lot of hobby progress these past few days.
I have. I bought all of Matt's Nurgle off of him, and in one day painted up a great and clean one, and I'm currently playing a game which is on pause with my daughter right now, downstairs, testing out some rules, some machinations that I got going on for this next event, a year in the making. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. If you've never painted a Nurgle unit model, whatever, before, please pick one up. It is the greatest experience of all time. Even if you think they're disgusting, it's a joy to paint these models. I don't know why. I don't know if there's something's broken in me or what, but it is just disgusting. It is foul, and you literally can't do it wrong. There's doesn't matter how bad you are at painting. It always turns out amazing. Just put a wash on it somewhere. Put more wash than you need. Put different color washes on it. It all works. It's just
anything in the green, yellow, and purple areas, they're just fine. It's
just
now tell the people.
Pinks work. Yeah.
Tell the people how nice those Blight Kings are, huh?
Oh, they're amazing. They're amazing. They're every single one is individual. It's not one looks the same as the other, and there's 20 of them. So I'm very excited to get into those. But they look like more than a day project, unfortunately.
What about the guy with 2 shields?
Yeah, he will be the first one dead automatically in any game.
Ironically.
I came for defense. No!
Best defense is a good offense.
Nice.
But yeah, so I've been doing that, and I plan to just focus on that. And I'm working a little bit on. We do a thing in the club called Battle Across the Realms. It has been our 2-day match play with a lot of narrative flair to it tournament. We've done it 3 times now. And that was going to be
this weekend, right?
That was going to be this weekend. Tonight we would have handed out awards and have been cleaned up at this point. And
I'd be driving home with my narrative award that I had in the bag. Obviously, Matt would have best sports again.
Yeah, you brought it with you in your bag.
Be driving home with best sports and first place.
So the sad stuff, we had a lot of big plans for that, but I kind of saw the writing on the wall on that pretty early on, and I think we wound up canceling it in March-ish, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. So, just announced the club and want to announce to the greater Warhammer community that we are going to do Battle Across the Realms. I think it's going to be the 3rd one. And it's going to be more narrative focused. In fact, it is going to be a narrative event. I won't even call it a tournament. And what's going to be exciting about it, there's going to be a lot of more news to come on this, is that you're going to define how to win the event by yourself, based on your army's goals. So you're going to have a long-term goal for the event, and you'll have short-term goals throughout the games. Throughout each game, you'll have one that you have to try and reach, and you get to define how those work. You'll have things that you may want to try to achieve as far as the objectives are on the map and everything on the table. So, but a lot more to come on that. That's kind of the gist of it. And so look out on Twitter, look out on Facebook. If you're on Ren 4's page on Facebook, we're going to be just releasing stuff little by little. A lot of play testing still has to go into this, so it's the early stages. Dave, Matt, and Chuck are all consiglieres on this and partners, and are helping me out trying to iron this out and figure out how exactly we're going to do it. So early days, and I'm planning it maybe for the springtime of next year. Hopefully we're out of the woods at that point and we can do all this stuff without having to worry about plans unfolding or anything like that. So that's why I'm going to put this almost a year off and then hope that we're fine. And then I plan to do another one in the fall. And what the other exciting thing about this is you'll choose a character that's between 5 and 8 wounds, and this character can essentially get better. He can level up, so to speak. But the other thing is your armies, your accomplishments will, at the end of the event, be written into your narrative for the next event as well. So those kind of go from event to event to event, so you can watch your army kind of grow, kind of compete, kind of reach their goals, not reach their goals. And it's going to be done in a Triumph and Treachery style, so it's going to be multiplayer. There'll be 3 to 4 players on every table, so just a lot of camaraderie, a lot of hopefully, people talking to each other, having a great time on the tables throughout a 2-day event, probably 4 games since it is multiplayer. But so a lot of fun things coming.
I do have to say real quick, Neil, gonna give you all the credit where credit's due, and you were doing this as a competitive event with the original Battle Across the Realms. But when I think of the best tables in the U.S. Age of Sigmar scene, obviously number 1, Steve Herner. No one's ever gonna top the amazing work he does. Those are gorgeous tables to play on, and they kill you, which is great. 2 and 3, I'm gonna put it as a tie because I've only ever seen pictures. But your tables that you've created are very narrative themed and like robust and full. And then the tables at NashCon, same sort of thing. So like best narrative tables, I guess I should qualify, not just best tables, but best narrative tables, because I walk up to your tables and I know exactly what realm I'm in. I know exactly what like my story's going to be just from looking at it, the way you have it set up. So I'm excited that you're doing a narrative event. Like, it's something that I was thinking about doing, but since you're doing it, I can just play in it now. It's great.
It's always the worst thing. Is like, I build a tournament that I enjoy, and then I watch everybody else playing it with a single tier.
Yep. I'm sure you'll get some games and your own shenanigans, but I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, I'm all for it. So I can't wait.
I want to add a little something to go along with Neil. You specifically mentioned that each participant defines how they would be a winner of the tournament. What's important to me as someone who I don't jive well with that competitive tournament atmosphere, just because I'm terrible at this game. But I think what's really important is if there are 32 participants, there can be 32 people going home saying, I won my tournament, which is 100% true because each person defines their win conditions, and my win condition and yours may not be incompatible. So you and I can both win the tournament or the event, whatever. And I think that's important to me, knowing that whether or not I succeed is in my hands, not yours.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what people come up with. So another, we're getting into more the nitty gritty, and stop me, Chuck, if this is getting too much. But
no, go ahead.
So the other thing we're going to do with this is I want people to think of this almost like a supplement to play Warhammer with. So when you pay your entry fee to the event, you're going to be getting back, the Battle Across the Realms rules supplement. So it's going to be a binded book of some sort. Haven't figured that out just yet, but it's going to have all the rules for the event, and then you'll have to write a narrative for your own army, and you have to send me pictures of the army, fully painted, of course, in as well. And we're going to take all of those narratives. We're going to put those into the supplement as well. So let's say we have 32 people who come. Inside of this book will be 32 narratives for everybody's army. And it's going to say what their long-term goal is. So you're going to know, how people are trying to win their own event, essentially. Now you won't know what their in-game goals are. Those get to be kept secret, unless you want to try and figure those out. And there's rules that go into that. But anyway, the book itself is going to be an interesting adjunct I hope anyway, for the way it turns out. And again, something that's going to grow. So when I say, you finish this one event, you move on to the next one. When you move into the next event and your narrative grows, you can include everything that happened in that last tournament into your own narrative. It's going to be played in the realms. So there's going to be 7 realms. And what we call it, Battle Across the Realms, Triumph, Treachery, and the 8 points. And so there's going to be a table that's the 8 points. So you can try to control the Varenspire, and that could be your narrative. So you want to try and get into that, push your way into the 8 points and then hold it throughout the event. That's something that you can do. And if you did do that, then that gets written into your narrative. And so when the next event comes around, people can read into that. So, and you also start in the Varenspire. That'll be your start location for the next tournament. So just things I think things that I haven't seen before personally in Warhammer events, Age of Sigmar events, and I hope it's something new, and I hope it's something that people are going to enjoy. And there's going to be who knows how this is going to change in the next 6 to 8 months with playtesting it and everything else. But these are the initial ideas anyway. So,
well, I'll tell you right now, for my hero, Teclis trained him wrong as a joke, and he thinks winning is losing and losing is winning.
I love it.
That's a Kung Pao reference for anyone born.
Yeah, but now, Matt, if that's what you go in as, this will be the only time you ever go 5-0 in a tournament.
Hell yeah, man!
Yep, there you go.
It's a guarantee.
Well, the good news is, as we get further along, I'm sure we'll have an entire episode, if not a few, dedicated to this, where Neil, you can wax poetic for hours about it. So
excellent.
There'll be plenty of time for that in the future once we start getting the playtesting going. But I'm in.
I have one more question about it before we move on here. So since the initials for this is bar, how many kegs are you bringing to the event?
There's one at the last one, right?
We that's two ago. So no, I don't know how. I have to talk with the venue owner about that kind of thing. That was a little bit of a mess the first time, but it was fun. Yeah, so we'll have to see. There is a bar underneath of it, so there's your bars, right? So
I sense a future partnership right there. That's
nobody's ever who was seeking libations has gone thirsty at any one of our events.
That's very true. That's very true. Well, what about your fitness? I know that Coors Light's really good right now, but what are you doing to not damage your body?
To not damage my body, I went on a little bike ride today. So went out with the family and had my son. We have this bike. You can attach another wheel to the back, and so my son is 6. He's still not quite mastered the no training wheels bike, so he sits on the back of that, and he can pedal and help me out, and so we both kind of go around together. So that was a little bit interesting going uphill with him back there, especially when the seat wasn't my height; it was set for my wife. So. It was significantly shorter than I am, so that was some interesting. That was some good exercise, is what that was.
That sounds good. Yeah. Let's go to maybe potential permanent host of the show, or just sparing guest, depending on if we leave him in the dust or not. Whenever he decides to be late.
That's fair.
Dave, what's on your hobby table?
On my hobby table, I've got some of the delightful terrain that was donated to Ren 4 by a couple of gracious fellas that have come up from Columbus for our tournaments. So I'm working on some of the Ren 4 terrain, which is obviously going to be a big part of the whole tournament or event scene. So that's been keeping me busy, and I have yet to get the A-OK from Neil to say, hey, this stuff's fine, but tough luck, it's getting painted this way. So that's been my hobby focus of late, and trying to wade through Neil's grammar on the drafts of this bars stuff.
I can barely speak, much less write things, so...
Player to dice roll, or have more dice.
Yeah, Yoda would write a clearer event document there. So.
He's not wrong.
Neil, it says here the player has to eat the table. A couple Coors Light in at that point. I don't remember. That's what I wrote.
Has ruined me.
Well. That's great, but as a potential permanent host of the show, what are you doing for your fitness now? You have to do something.
Well, so I'm still I'm on the Weight Watchers. So
that's right. You're
keeping an eye on those.
Your power
keeping
level
an eye
diet.
on those points. I have been power level diet. There it is. I had not done enough this week because the weather has been not cooperating, and I have also been not cooperating. But today I went out in the 700-degree heat and 200% humidity and mowed the lawn. So it counts. It felt like 3 or 4 workouts today. It was awful.
How big is your yard? How long does it take you to cut your grass? Before I judge you here.
45 minutes.
Okay. All right. That's a cardio. I'll give you a cardio.
It takes me an hour 15, Dave. That's
have a friggin' hill in there.
That's child's play, Dave. It takes me an hour 15.
But Neil, that's an hour 15 with you chugging beer. So that's I go in straight lines.
That's easy mode, Dave.
Yeah, it's harder to mow your lawn in swirl patterns. There, Starry Night.
Oh, you damn mountain men.
Next time.
All right. We're not mad, but we're disappointed, Dave. That's where we'll leave it there.
I'll try to do better.
All right, Matt. I know you're excited right now. You're going to show something on the video, even though I'm not putting video up anywhere.
Oh yeah. I'll just.
What's your hobby?
For people on the podcast who can't see anything, look at my new battle tome.
Ooh.
So
Can
as
you
far
hold
as
that picture out? Pull that picture up one more time. And I want you to tell me, how does that guy swing that hammer past that helmet? How does it happen?
I'm sorry,
No way.
Neil, are you doubting the martial prowess
So this
of
is
the
what
elves?
I figured out.
Are you saying that they can't
Oh,
compensate
so
for the
again,
horns on their helmet? He's clearly
So
going
no one
sidearm.
actually-
He's clearly going sidearm, and we're talking about the Lumineth Realm Lords. In case anyone,
Yes,
Ah,
that's
that's
what I was going to say. I was like, I held up the Lumineth Realm Lord's battle tome since we never got to that. No, I figured it out. The whenever you roll a 6 and it explodes, what they're actually doing is they're hitting the helmet, and it's the vibrations that are doing the mortal wound or the extra damage. That's
No, I think it should be like on the 6 to hit. They hit the helmet and it spins, and they gain flying for the next turn. That would be great.
I think if anyone's complaining about, you can not like the look of the tall cow helmets. I'm not gonna like. That's fine. You can not like the aesthetics of that. But if someone's going, oh, how do you attack with that? It's like, okay, well, if you're wondering how elves do anything, look at any elf range in Warhammer. Okay, they just do.
It's fair.
It's all that way.
The cone, yeah, the Dragon Prince helmets from Beyond. I think they were bigger than the actual guy.
Yeah, not to mention like the dragon, the lances, where it's like, this has to be some sort of magical metal, because if this was just like basic, even like steel, it would just not. You couldn't hold it up.
no.
Well, and go ahead, Matt.
I am interested. I am tempted to wait for the Stone Guard to come out and give the croquet mallets to the cavalry, and come up with my own new Blood Bowl.
I will say, and I need to come out publicly because I have been fairly critical of them. After perusing pictures of people working these things on Twitter for quite a bit this weekend, those spearmen and the archers, they are just gorgeous models. I mean, there's no denying that whatsoever. The horses as well. I've been a little bit not critical so much of the models and the horses. It just wasn't what I was looking for, but they're gorgeous as well. I can't say a thing about them, so it's great.
So my Maw tribe thinks they look delicious. So that's
so that's I ordered 2 boxes. Now I made a mistake and ordered one of the boxes with the White Dwarf. So box 1 came in today. Box 2 will come in Friday. So
Because the White Dwarf.
Well, again, it has the rules for them in
the Warcry. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So so other than that, so right now the plan, I had I ordered the roller from Green Stuff World, because they came out with an elf one that has actually the mountain rune on it. It has like the bullhead iconography. Now, unfortunately, that has been on a boat for 13 days now after ordering it 3.5 weeks ago. So if it looks like it's going to continue to be delayed, I'm still going to try and build everything, and then I'm going to wait for my other box, build the other box, and if there's no status update, I'm just going to go ahead and start being like a professional big boy. I'll buy some cork and start painting them without bases, and then worry about it whenever that shipment finally comes in.
Have you looked at all at the lore in that battle tome?
I just got it today, and today has been very busy.
Okay.
I was going to read it. Like I was going to okay, from this time to this time is just book time. But then a buddy of mine was asking for help in an MMO, and I decided to took 2 hours to write a guide for him. So
That's fair.
I just think this was hilarious that Chuck said, Matt, have you read the lore? And when you said no, he covered his mic, and you could see him screaming obscenities. It was terrible.
Oh yeah, His eyes are still bloodshot.
Listen. Once you go Kane, it just infects you. You know. Well, any other hobby outside that, or do you want to tell us about your fitness?
I don't know. Did I talk? I think no. I talked about the only real hobby I had last time was painting the Stormcast from Dreadfane. Other than that, I got rid of probably close to 18 to 2,300 points of Nurgle. I unloaded that hot garbage.
Good.
Now, to be fair, whenever the next battle tome comes out and it's half good, I'll probably restart the army. So, as far as fitness goes, I had a piece of quiche this morning. Does that count?
No.
Does that?
No.
How violently did you eat it?
Did you burn more calories eating it than?
No. So as far as that goes, I been kind of keeping the course. Been trying to reduce fried foods and whatnot. I bought like a pre-made salad mix, so I've been having that for my lunches. Of course, the salad dressing I had was also probably about a year old, so that made me pretty violently ill for a couple days. But that's another way to lose calories. Yeah.
I'm not sure we put that under the realm of health.
Yeah, that's not...
Hell yeah, man. Better out than in, right?
Well, there is something to be said about not going backwards and maintaining is still progress. So if you aren't slipping back and you haven't put on more weight, we'll count that as progress.
What is that? The line from The Simpsons, the really old Treehouse of Horror, whenever Bill Clinton and Bob Dole are taken over by aliens. It's I plan to go backwards, not forwards. Upwards, not forwards, and forever twirling.
Go ahead, throw your vote away.
Oh man!
Yeah. The two resident Simpsons guys.
Oh man!
That's right.
Yeah. So I said. I mean, again, eating healthier and not. No, I didn't gain anything. Didn't lose anything, but
that's always good.
Yes.
I mean, it is. What do you want from me?
Well, no, it's a shock that I didn't lose anything after my week, but hey, it's...
Well, I guess as for me, my hobby, I also picked up a box of the Lumineth Realm Lords, but I read the lore, unlike Matt. Actually, it took me about 2 hours, 15 minutes to get through the lore, and it is some of the best lore I've seen in Age of Sigmar to date. You learn a lot about Haish. Clearly, you learn a lot about the Lumineth Realm Lords. You learn a lot about Tyrion, which I wasn't really expecting. Not that it was unwelcome. I was reading this. I'm just like, you could probably figure out everything that he's doing. I mean, it makes sense because he is tied to Teclis as well, obviously, but it's great, and there's one piece of lore I loved in it. I can't wait for you to get to it, Matt. It's a haughty Lumineth prince who wants to use Daddy's magic light spear, so he teleports into the armory, picks it up. It accidentally activates and shoots a beam of pure Haitian energy out through the armory wall, through a statue of Tyrion, through a human caravan that's traveling into some city, through the mega gargant that's also attacking that caravan, and others through a forest, and finally causing a mini landslide at the base of a mountain. And all he does is he just puts it back and teleports away and goes, nope. It's I had to reread that 3 times because I'm just like, what? I was not expecting this in here. It was so good.
Now I did leaf through the book, and I have to say one of the things that I'm most intrigued by was the army structure. The page with where you see Teclis's ball chin in the background in stone, where they actually talk about the 4 different. Well, they don't talk about. They show. So they show Mountain with the Alarith models or units, but then behind it they also have River, Wind, and Zenith. So
yeah, you get a lot about that in the book as well.
That's super enticing, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for Zenith. That sounds awesome.
Well, actually, what I found really interesting, because they do talk the two parts, and this isn't really spoiling anything, but the Mountain Temple. So in order to become part of the mountain temple, you have to go in this like you have to like it's like the classic martial arts style. You have to put your body through the worst to be accepted, type thing. Like push it to the absolute limits and see if you can actually handle to be with us, type deal. Or I guess maybe not martial arts, just anime in general. But for the mountain aspect, you literally have to bury yourself underground, and if you don't suffocate and you're able to breathe through the cracks because the mountain allows you to breathe, you just have to stay down there a week, and you emerge and like your like body's like hard as stone. And then the same thing with the water. They mention you have to tie weights to yourself, wade into this lake, and drown. And if you actually don't drown, like you're allowed to breathe underwater and you float to the top, and it's like, okay, and you're one of them. It's like it tests your spirit to see if you're worthy. I'm just like, this is metal, and I love it.
Okay, kids, don't try this at home.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
gonna
it's
say,
no.
like, hey kids, you're not elves, don't do it.
This is like old Salem witch trials. Like, well, let's throw the witch in the water, and if she floats,
Yeah.
She's a witch.
She's part of the water temple.
There is no Fire Nation, So I hope the Fire Slayers someday attack, and we can finally make the Avatar references we demand.
Oh my dear God, that would be the longest game in the history of.
Yeah, it would be. Regardless, it's a great box set. I love the lore. I'm excited for this army. Like I said, I still have my trepidations of how do I change Teclis to make him look like a model that I want as opposed to what they gave us. But yeah, it'll be fun. It's nice to see people painting elves again, and I am going to, as usual, put my Cainite influence into this army. So lots of witch. Yeah, no boo. Cain makes every elf better. All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
Ooh. Long live Teclis and Tyrion. May forever their ears be long.
May they be delicious.
May their blood prove a worthy sacrifice. Now, whatever. Outside of that, I did paint up my custom Sylvaneth here that I've had for a while, called Miley Cypress, which is essentially just an Arch Revenant with a head swap with a Melusai head, and like a little bit of Cain iconography. I got to write her lore still. I put tidbits of where she's going to come from and like some of my Teyrathi lore, but I'm going to write that up probably sometime this week. Not that I plan to play the Sylvaneth army anytime soon, but I just got to have my heroes built and ready, just in case I just decide to go, next spring, pull out my spring-themed Elveneth, take him to battle across the realms, and just play Dave and just constantly make this pun over and over again and ruin his day.
By the way, my wife loves that name.
I can't take credit for it. It's one of those things, like whenever it was said, it was too perfect to not use. So there we go. I'm trying to think. That's pretty much been my hobby. Haven't built any Lumineth yet. I'm gonna get to that later this week, but we'll see. I need to rework my lore and figure out my color scheme before I really start diving in. As far as what's that?
I gotta say, I'm sticking with the cover boys. Normally I like to try and find my own, but
not to get too deep. I like the Iliatha Temple, and the bits we saw early on in the Warcom articles and everything like that they talked about magical cloning, which I really liked, and I have some good ideas. And the art for the color scheme was like this eggshell greenish blue and yellow and red. It looked really interesting. And in the book, their armor's white, and they have like yellow and red robes. And I'm just like, okay, hold on. Well, I don't want another just like white and red army, because I have that with my Khorne and my Stormcast technically. So I was like, okay, let me switch that up. And then when
your dwarves.
Oh yeah, my dwarves. Well, those are still square bases. They're left in the annals of time. But
hear that, everyone? He still has square bases.
Yeah.
We're all judging you.
That's
Chuck.
fine.
Wow.
That's fine.
Wow.
That's fine. You can
You'll
judge
change
away.
them over just in time for Old World.
I'm not going to change them over because they're dwarves. There's no other reason. I'm just like, nah. Shoot, lost my train of thought there.
Talking about the color scheme.
Yeah, color scheme. So I'm not sure what I want to do about the color scheme. And when I read the full page depth on the Iliatha Temple, they talked about the magic cloning, which was really cool. And then there's like a few parts where I'm just like, man, it feels like this great nation has baby fever, because they talk about breeding a lot. I'm just like, can we just focus on the cloning? Like, I'm all for propagating the races and flourishing realms and all that sort of stuff. I'm just like, I was not expecting that. I thought it was all about the magic cloning. It was gonna be like a little bit more scientific, but it was just like, it's clearly like the Anvalor, Avanlor from Ulthuan from the End Times, because the whole realm of Hyash is definitely like an Ulthuan reference. So it's like, I get it and I see the references, but I was just like, I just want to deal with the magical cloning, guys. So
Are you gonna make all of your Lumineth pregnant, male or female?
no.
Green stuff. Yeah.
No.
Green stuff.
That's the opposite of what I want.
I think what's
And
happening here is that the Lumineth parents tell their kids, when they're asked, where do babies come from, they say, magical cloning, kids.
The
Okay, that's pretty funny. I like that. Well, regardless, it made me
baby
go.
bump green stuff.
No,
And then that way,
no. Oh,
every
no.
time you remove a model, you can look at your opponent and be like, how dare you?
Not even
You
for that.
monster.
Not even for that joke. I will not be doing that. My goodness.
Now, to be fair, in the old lore, from the old world, elves very rarely procreated.
Yes.
It was a rare thing, and that's why the race was declining for so long. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting take on the new lore.
It's a very, very like big. It's very much a flip from that, and it is only this great nation that is like really pushing like propagation of the Lumineth as a race within the realm. So, like I said, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna create my army, create my lore, focus on more of the magic cloning aspect, because that's what I really dug about them originally, and do my own color scheme. So that's where I'm at with that.
So if you want to follow through with this cloning thing,
Mhm.
what you can do is you tell me which pose you want, and I'll give you all of my guys that have that pose, and you give me all of the other guys.
Well, maybe actually, because the one thing I am considering with the army is literally doing, if I have, I'm not going to have just a single unit of anything unless it's like a named character like Teclis or Altharian. So if I have a warden, one unit of wardens, I have two. If I have sentinels, I'll have two. And just build that way. Just go commit to the theme really, but we'll see. I like that idea too about swapping and actually having true twins. And I think the lore for my character in the army is going to be that she is a clone twin, but she does not know where her
Professionalism.
Round one, go.
Oops.
I think that's time. That's an indicator to tell us it's a brush for higher commercial time.
I thought
So I
this was
got
like
one.
Pee-wee's Playhouse, and that was the
No, I
secret
got
word
one,
of the
man.
day.
So we're trying out something new here. This is going to be a themed. It is awkward parent conversation commercial time. So here we go. Ready? Brush for hire. Okay. Well, your mother and I love you very much. Brush for hire.
So yeah, I'll talk about my Lumineth lore at a later date. As far as fitness, I'm still doing CrossFit. All right, there we go. We're all caught up.
How many kilos are you lifting?
I don't know. I'm still using pounds mostly. I haven't shifted.
How many
over.
stone is that?
That's getting.
Ooh, there it is.
What is it 22?
It's
20
14.
It's 22.
14 pounds to the stone,
Okay, 14 to the stone.
which is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
14.3. That's
Yeah.
It's terrible. Why not just find a 15-pound stone? I don't understand.
Because
Maybe
they were
10-pound
they
stone.
were weak. They were weak when they found that stone. They're like, this is the heaviest stone we can pick up.
This is the unit system that uses horsepower to measure energy. Come on. Let's just hook up that standard horse to the machinery. He's not going to like how we hook him in, but he'll take it.
Yes. Continuing CrossFit, back at the gym. I'm lifting many stone, tons of kilos, more pounds than you can imagine.
I lift 1 stone, and that stone weighs 400 pounds.
It's a Keystone Light. It's a beer. Now, Chuck, when you're lifting tons of kilos, are you lifting TONS or TONNES? The short tons or the long tons?
Actually,
the long ton.
No. It's. See, I'm trying to be a Instagram influencer, so it's TUNZ tons. You gotta hashtag that.
Tones.
Now David's migraine.
Yeah, if my eye explodes, Chuck, it's on you.
All right.
Yeah. My phone autocorrects all my words to add a U after all my O's.
Every word begins with a hashtag no matter what. Anyway, so tonight we're celebrating the 5th anniversary for Age of Sigmar. So I think we've all been around since near the beginning, if not the very beginning. I know Neil, me and you, we came over through the end times, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Remembering that correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Matt, you were more 40K, but you got into Age of Sigmar real early whenever you and I met.
Yeah.
And Dave, I can't quite recall, did you jump in early on Age of Sigmar, or did you come from the end times?
Yes. I came in, I happened to go into a game shop the first weekend they were playing with Age of Sigmar rules. So it was just the right time. So it was post-end times, right after Age of Sigmar 1.0 hit the streets.
Okay. We'll cast back slightly before that, and this might be more me and Neil reminiscing, but the end times happened. World blew up. Neil, you and I are going, what the hell's going to happen? And then you start seeing these rumors appear online. And do you remember seeing the very first picture from, I think it was from Warhammer World, in a nice glass case. It was Seraphon on round bases.
So actually, this is a unique. This is a you experience. This is not a me experience. And the reason why it is because I was in PT. I just finished PT school. I had, and at that time it was still 8th edition. So this 8th edition podcast wasn't playing a lot, because of all the stuff that I was doing. And then I had my first kid, and then my second kid.
Oh, well, okay.
And so I wasn't paying attention a ton, right? And so when I came back was, I think, maybe a month after it released. Maybe not even that. We're talking when they put the PDFs out for all the old armies and everything. I just on chance I came back and I looked at it, and it's just like Old World blown up, and I was like, what?
And keep in mind too, for people listening at home that may not have been with the end times to Age of Sigmar or took a long break. During the end times, that's when Games Workshop was still not doing any sort of outreach to the community. Things were just happening, and that was it. You're like, okay.
Yeah, Games Workshop was definitely a completely different animal 5 years ago.
So much different.
I think it's easy to forget.
Well,
I have to say, too, that the way... We're probably getting a little ahead of myself here with all this, but with the way that Age of Sigmar came about, and it had a bumpy little road, and I think they have admitted that as well. Mm-hmm. That they probably would have done some stuff different, but the way Games Workshop has come along and has engaged the community now with the game, especially over the last 5 years, and it's just gone from strength to strength to strength. That was not the way it was. In fact, however it is right now, picture the exact opposite of that.
Yes. Yes.
That's how it was. You would go, if you were, say, a Wood Elf player, you would go like 10 years between books.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Not 6 months, not a year, not 2 years, no. We're talking years of the same book. Like editions would change, and you would not get a book.
And don't even say the word FAQ. Don't even think about that.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't getting FAQs. You weren't getting points updates. If your army sucked, man, just bite your bottom lip, and that's either buy a new one or just get to it, man.
Yep.
So, it is a golden age we are experiencing right now.
100%. Well, I remember that very first image appearing, and knowing it was and all I knew was rank and flank square basing, and seeing that image that first time, it was very much a moment of, up until that point, I heard the round bases. I'm like, they'll never do that. That's gonna be stupid. That's awful. Leave that for 40K. Then I saw the image, and I was just like, that doesn't look bad. It was like it's exactly. I mean, it's like a lot of things. Like, I mean, we've all done it with models. Heck, I might do that with the Techless model. I might get him and be like, or Matt might get him and
he
build
looks
him.
Good on a square.
And I'll just not on the square, but like sometimes pictures do not do it justice, or until you physically see something, you don't fully like.
Looks different in person sometimes.
Yeah, and it was kind of like that with that picture, because like in my mind I saw my high elves at the time on rounds. I was like, nah. Then I saw the Seraphon. I'm like, that's really good.
So let me ask, as someone that didn't really get the opportunity to play fantasy, how much time had elapsed between, hey, the world blew up, to, hey, here's Age of Sigmar?
Well, that's
Three and a half years.
No. It was. I want to say it was less than 3 months for sure. It was definitely at least a month, but like. Think about quarterly and all that stuff. It wasn't too long before we started seeing hints about things, and then I think when Age of Sigmar released, because we got tidbits in the White Dwarf, and we got the first Stormcast model, which was fun weekend when we got the Stormcast model in the White Dwarf, because everyone picked it up and started painting it. There were so many different takes and it looked so cool. And then the game eventually, the first original starter set dropped. I picked it up day one, and they also had the. It wasn't like the base rulebook, because the rulebook was just the 4 pages, and that was literally it. But there was like a kind of like a battle tome. Like it had a little bit more narrative in it. Had some battle plans and stuff you could play in it that came out with it. And then that was it again for a while. Like it kind of was very slow to pick up from there, and it was like as we all know, it was kind of a rocky start for a few months. And then community people started stepping in to develop points, and so we weren't just kind of figuring out and guessing how to play. And then we got all the free rules, which and looking back on it, this Wild West time within like this first year of Age of Sigmar was fun. Like you had the crazy rules. People were trying different things out. The community was really together because we were all we had to figure it out with.
Yeah.
For me too, like when I'd been in this hobby for a long time, but I hadn't engaged with anybody really outside, just sticking in the basement, whatever. But when this came out and the rules were so wide open, and it wasn't just the rules were wide open because of how it happened, whether for good or for worse, the community was wide open too. You didn't feel like you were going out into something that was fully established. It gave me personally the drive to want to build something in the community. Build a gaming club, build whatever. I mean, there wasn't anything there to be built, so there was an opportunity to kind of grow something from literally the ground up, from day one. So which is amazing. So.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point to bring up too. When the world blew up, and Age of Sigmar rumors started coming up, so did the community. So many people left. They didn't want anything to do with it. They were mad, for whatever reason. That there was such a small handful of us, especially on Twitter, that's kind of where, like you said, like I started engaging with people on Twitter, because I would be showing up with my Khorne and Stormcast army from the starter box, trying to get people to try this game, because it was kind of fun from the starter box, because that was a balanced box of models. But like no one wanted to touch it for months. I'd just show up alone and sit and talk about it, and people would ignore me and play 40K. So, I would engage with people on Twitter, but like that small group on Twitter that formed, like, was really, really cool. Like so many diverse group of people, different views and all that, just going like, how do we make this game work? How do we help each other and do all this sort of stuff? And we developed a very core set of values as a community at that point, that as people started...
Only the faithful.
Yeah, exactly. But as people started coming back later, as we'll get to, people came in and just adopted those values as well. So it was a wild time, but I think it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to the community.
Yeah.
And the game. This is a better game than old fantasy. Sorry, it is.
The nice thing about it, too, with that mass exodus, I think the people, like you're saying, Chuck, like I started to get on Twitter as well and try to engage with people. Met you on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even the people so the people that I used to listen to on the podcasts and things like that, like Heelan Hammer and stuff like that, they're out on Twitter, and I would start engaging with people out there as well, and whereas I probably wouldn't have beforehand.
Yeah.
If it just felt like the gates that were up or were down were now up, and you knew that everybody who was still in this game was pushing it, wanted the same things, wanted to experience the game with other people.
Yeah.
There were the gatekeeping, so to speak, had just been wiped out, and just everybody just wanted to engage anybody who was just interested with it. I would go to the game store that I went to, and I'd bring 2-3 different armies, and I'd just sit them out there, and I'd sit there for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Just like something. I'm like, here, pick up my army and play with it, whatever, and I'll show you how the rules work, and so.
But
yeah.
eventually people did, so it pays off.
And a big round of applause too for everybody who all the content creators out there in the early days, that really pushed the boundaries. South Coast GT, I remember trying to teach Dave the South Coast GT rules.
Yep.
Back in the day too. I'm like, here's like they got this point system, and it kind of works,
Let's not forget, early on there was MoComp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he also brought in his MoComp, which was a point structure, also brought in War Machine and Hordes battle plans, and that's when people in the community started realizing this wasn't the old edition of 8th edition fantasy where you just try to kill each other and you win. This was an objective-based war game, and as soon as you figured that out, it became so much more fun than fighting in the middle. But then South Coast GT, which ultimately that became the basis for the true point system in Age of Sigmar 2.
Mm-hmm.
What was the system before that? Because I know there was one system that we started using, and then South Coast GT.
MoComp was the first, and then was it Azir Comp?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was one out of the States, and then there was South Coast GT, and I liked. Personally, I was a big fan of South Coast GT, which was modeled off of MoComp. So.
Yes, we definitely. I think everybody went to the South Coast after that, which is why, like I said, GW used that the basis for their points. So
the one thing I never understood about these things was people would talk about the difference between a point system and a pool system, and I could never understand how those two things were distinct for the life of me.
Well,
so what it was
is how many models you can manipulate while you're in a pool. It was very anti-horde meta. It was very
so Old Fantasy had a system of where you paid points per model. So if I had spearmen were worth 8 points a model. Now we have spearmen in points per 10 models. So the minutia of and then you could add shields for +1 point, right? So each model went up +1 point. Now, mathematically, it doesn't make too much of a difference, right?
That's my answer. That's what I keep saying.
But the thing is that with the characters as well, you build your character, and each shield that you put on, there wasn't a limit for artifacts or anything like that. You would just pay for the artifacts that you put on them. So a shield might be 10 points, and this sword might be 50 points. And so there was a little bit more minutia in the list building than what there is with a pool system, although that's arguable, I feel. It takes a little bit of the math out of it.
So you're talking about the resolution of it, the granularity is the difference.
Right.
Because, I mean, ultimately, with Age of Sigmar, it was, this unit is 10 points, or it's 10 pool choices. And it's like, how is that different? I never understood. But I started with Age of Sigmar, and like you said, Neil, you were trying to show me how the SCGT points work. It was all new to me, so I don't know.
I'll tell you though, I was this week I was actually looking through my old Grand Alliance order book, and I'll tell you what, I really feel like people didn't give the no points an honest try.
Well, I mean, that is technically still open play. You can still do that.
That's true. Yeah. But at the time, I mean, it was basically someone just was, went out on the internet and just did the most sacrilegious thing you could think of, and it was like, no, it wasn't competitive, and I don't think they intended it to be competitive at first, and but it was really fun. I mean, I remember playing open games with you where it was just like, okay, I'm gonna put down 30 Thunderers, and you'd be like, okay, fine.
Yeah. we just kind of guessed, yeah.
I played a lot of those games early days too. I think the hard part about it and why I was pushing like SCGT and that kind of stuff early on, even though a lot of people hadn't heard anything about it, was that open play almost requires you to have a very off balance game first, and then you can kind of figure out if you're playing just a buddy. You're like, okay, well that didn't work.
Yes, yeah,
that was way off.
I think
there's plenty of those
next
games,
time do this, right?
I think that's one of the things
is tough. You
know, to play open play, aka original Age of Sigmar, you have to actually have a very good understanding of your army and your opponent's army, and you also, again, dipping into narrative a little bit, you have to have an understanding of what the game is there for. Yeah. You know, because if you're just going to keep going back and forth of like, oh yeah, well I'm gonna put this on, you know, you'll have a Age of Apocalypse game going on here in no time before you know.
Yeah. Well, I want to do a quick thing really on before we start moving past the early parts of this. Matt, you'll remember playing in this, and Alex, our Russian spy friend, did as well. It was the first true tournament for Age of Sigmar thing that was kind of released, and it came through Games Workshop's official channels. I got it from my friendly local game store. It was called The Trials of the Ogihear, Oighear, and it was run at Warhammer World. But they put out the pack, but like they didn't really put it out because, like I said, they didn't have a community team. So I think it was just the three, maybe there's one or two other people playing this with us, Matt, at the old club location, where we had an army. I think we were using MoComp at the time, and you also had to have a hero character, much in the way that we're doing these narrative events that we love so much. And it was based upon like essentially like a small section that was essentially Kislev redone in the Mortal Realms. And like I still have the PDF, so if anyone's interested, I could send it to him. It was a fun, it was really fun, and it was like the first like I gobbled it up because it was like we were finally getting some stuff to know about the Mortal Realms, which was still a mystery at this time.
Yeah,
but
some of it still is.
Hell, at this time, we didn't know if Stormcasts were people or not. Like we didn't even know.
Like, which then led into the Realm Gate Wars. And we got, 4 or 5 campaign books of the Realm Gate Wars, which was probably
4 books.
4 books. I say I have them. They're down by my feet, so I'm glad you have them at eye level.
I'm just looking. Yeah.
Which compared to, like they were good. They were giving us some info. It was focused in actually. I think there's a little bit of Gairan, obviously, and a little bit of Shaman. And it was nice to start seeing Stormcast, seeing that they were people, getting more and more lore coming out. The thing that I will say is compared to what we got in the end times, these were kind of like not scratching deep enough on that itch. It was nice to see support, but it was just like, I want more lore now, please.
What's kind of funny is I remember so when I first got into Sigmar, they had the first of those Realm Gate Wars books. I mean, it wasn't Quest for Galmaraz. It was just the first book.
It was the Mighty Battles in Age of Unending War or whatever.
Yep.
I bought that because I did not believe that just the 4 pages of rules were the rules, because I'm so used to buying a Bible of rules. I'm like, this book has to be the rule book. This is big. This looks like the rule book. And it's like the rules are in there, so I'm like, this has to be it. Like, you know.
I think I might do this over this next week. This kind of like a mini celebration for myself. I'll get some whiskey and I'll read through that book again, just to see how far we've come. I mean,
no, you have to do all 5 then. You have to start with Mighty Battles and then 1 through 4 the Realm Gate Wars, because it is a continuation of it.
It's true. That's true. I mean, I will. That would be a fun trip. Just to go through those again, because and the thing is too, like even the writers at the time, they weren't given much to go on, because I think GW was still figuring out what they wanted to do with it, and like I don't know if they were expecting it to just be dead on arrival and like no one to care about it, but then this small group of just like, it's like, no, go, and you know they're like, okay, But yeah,
we did get a lot of we did get a lot of audio dramas and audio books at this time too.
Yes.
That were a lot of X Army went to Y location and fought Z Army, and then went to B location, and
I do
and
really
fought
wish they
C.
would have done like a series of narrative videos, kind of explaining the Mortal Realms from the beginning, because boy, there was so much different everything going on.
Listen,
and
they were very much learning what
Yeah.
not to do, which is fine. They learned from it. Like let's be very very honest that they learned from what they did wrong in the first release of Age of Sigmar.
I will say too, they so the opportunity to grow with the realms. I know a lot of people were upset, like, oh well, there's no lore to it. There's no, but again, like we all got to be a part of building that. I don't know if you guys remember the was it called the Summer of War campaign?
Actually, that's next on my docket here. That was the year after, called the Season of War.
Season of War.
And it was right after the Realm Gate Wars campaign books ended. And yeah, this is where the community interaction with Games Workshop really started happening on a level that was more than nothing.
Right.
And then I'm gonna open up the folder here. I still have all these. Like I said, I keep everything. And like I said,
So
go.
Dave and I played through all these scenarios, by the way. So that's really when we really got to playing a lot, Dave.
yeah, this is where the Season of War is what brought Chuck out a lot, because he and I were playing at our local Warhammer store, and we were recording those wins like nobody's business.
Yeah, and
Is that actually
South Coast GT points were in full use by pretty much the entire global community at this point.
Yeah.
I was running a club. I actually at not my local club. We were playing games out there and doing that, but we only met once a month. But a second store near me, I was running weekly nights playing this, and we had people just loving it. It was really taking off, and I'm not sure if you remember. I have, like I said, I have everything saved, but there was one time when Death was ascended, like Death was scoring more victory points, so they put out this thing like where Nagash gave favors, like, and then there was one for like Chaos, and just super cool. And we were fighting over something real. There was the 3 cities, the Living City, Greywater Fastness, and Phoenicium. They were who's going to control it. So all 4 factions were fighting over it, and it Order eventually won today over everybody else. I think mostly because there was more Order armies just to choose from.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like
Stormcast was still huge at the time, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't a blowout. But like, I think this is where things really started. Like the traction, like the wheels finally stuck, and we were getting moving.
Now, Chuck, you've obviously got a timeline in front of you here. When was their first FAQ dropped?
I don't have a full timeline like you probably are imagining. I have all my folders from all the events I ran since this began, and just all my file dumps. Right. So that's what I'm looking at. So nice. I think I'm not sure on that.
Because I think that was a big thing locally to sort of straighten some stuff out, because I had heard something's completely wrong at the one place I'd been playing, where it was like, oh no, you can wound each guy in the unit, and that's how multi-wound models work. And it's like, oh my god, I'm never going to win this game.
It could be that was official like stuff coming from developers on Twitter, or who knows, or that could have just been in the South Coast comp, and that's just what the community was saying. Like it might have been us FAQing it ourselves at this point. I can't. I
remember coming in to the store multiple times to having people argue about, can a unit shoot more than one target, and I like go in every single time like guys, look at the damn rules. Where does it say that you can't shoot a second target? And they're like, well, it doesn't say anywhere that you can. I'm like, these rules tell you what you can't do.
Yes.
There's nothing in the rules that tell you what you can do. Like, it's a negative rule set.
Which actually was it was a complete different thing from the old 8th edition.
Yeah.
So like, I know exactly what you mean. It's like, can we do this? Does it say you can't? No. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally probably 6 months of me constantly telling people, like, no, you can, but it doesn't say you can.
So Matt, what you needed to do then is say, look, the rules don't say that I can't slap the person with the stupid question, so
That's how we ended up getting things resolved.
Yeah,
That's-
it's slap fights.
They
Yeah.
get that example.
But
So it's actually funny. Real quick, hold on.
go ahead.
A
Go
quick
ahead.
side story. So I had this. I forget who I was talking with. One of my buddies. We came up with this idea that we should go to the other gaming store in our area, and just be like, real quiet. Like walk in Friday, get a table, and then like suddenly we start having loud rules arguments. And then we go slappies, and then we literally just
Yeah, I remember.
slap each other until someone goes, "All right, you're right," you know. and then we were going to do this every Friday until other people started doing it, and then just never go back. Like,
Start a trend. But
just so I know that there's a bunch of sweaty nerds in a basement somewhere slapping a piss out of each other.
But if it really caught on, it would have ended up in the General's Handbook.
Oh yeah, it'd be a Nova thing.
yeah, then Stormcast Strong will be really taken off. I can tell you that much. But yeah, I did like how the Season of War also made Twitter. Neil, you probably saw this too, where we were engaging more because the three cities were set. So Europe was fighting over the Phoenicium, U.S. over the Living City, the U.K. was over Greywater Fastness. So those countries would fight, and whichever faction within that country won is who controlled that city. So it was definitely more of a little bit more granularity to that. So like there was a few times where like U.S. was behind, like Chaos was winning in the Living City, and like the European Order guys would be like, "Come on, guys, pick up the pace," and it was a really fun. And then there was also like shit talking too, but it was all in good nature.
Now,
And
what do you think
what you
would
notice
happen?
now, too, right now, nothing like that's happened since. And what I want to point out is that was able to happen because we didn't have a ton of lore coming out. Now we get the Soul Wars, and now we get the kind of they seems like they know where they want to go with it. So you don't have that opportunity to write the history. So that was a really interesting time where we got to write some of the history into the actual lore. So
when you read a book and it mentions the Season of War, Neil, you're probably like, I lived those. I'm a veteran from that time.
right.
That was the last time my dispossessed were useful.
I remember
So-
rocking up with Dark Elves. I just had to get Executioner line and some Spearmen, and we were starting, and I tried. It was like 2 turns, and I was shot off the table. And I'm just like, I don't know what just happened.
I'll tell you, man. And again, that's one of the things. It's sad to see the dispossessed where they are now, because I would literally roll up to the table with my dispossessed, and the other regulars would be like, "Oh no, I don't want to have to deal with that."
Yeah.
But what do you think? Because again, because of Order winning, supposedly that's where we get all of the cities of Sigmar and whatnot. What do you think would have happened if Order, or Death or Destruction would have won some of those?
I think you wouldn't have those cities.
I think.
Do you think we'd just have different named cities, or do you think
Maybe.
we would have
I
cities
think-
of Death?
I think Destruction.
Maybe, but-
if Destruction won, then we wouldn't have had a city there at all. Chaos would have been like a stronghold. Death would be an interesting one, but I'm saying that knowing what the Death lore is now. Like back at the time when you told me this, I would say that it would just be a Death or Chaos or Destruction city.
or a portal to Shaiish.
It could be. What I can say, here's the numbers. In total, when was this? This might have been, there were 3 great cities fought over across 1,000 separate battles at your local stores. 415 battles won by Order, 256 won by Chaos, 136 by Destruction, and 108 by Death. So that's that's the numbers. Now that might have just been U.S. only. I can't quite recall. It's not listed on this.
It
little
probably
art I saved.
is, because
Well,
you and I played at least 20 games. So
Well, listen, this was still a very small community at the time.
yeah,
But yeah,
This is also, so back when I started Ren 4, this was also what kind of keyed off some of what the hobby hero, if you know about my club, I have a hobby hero system which has points, and what we do is we kind of keep track of who paints or who plays what factions, and so there's a little bar graph that harkens back to this exact thing, where how much did hobby did you put into order, chaos, death, and destruction? And a lot of that came from that pie graph that we saw, and that's what kind of got me thinking about the idea with that. So yeah, it had a lot of fallout for me personally into things that I did with my own club.
Yeah, and it worked. And then piggybacking off that into the next year, because I think this was also that was like late summer when I think this season of war happened. So then we went into autumn and then obviously winter and all that stuff, and 40K stuff happened, I'm sure. Then in 2017 we got the Firestorm, which was where we got to see the cities. It was a narrative map campaign. Because they knew that Order had won, so it was, I forget exactly when it was released, but we played that at my local club, and to me 2017 is when this hobby really started moving forward with me, because this is when I said I love this hobby, I love this community. I'm making some great friends that are obviously friends for life, friends to this day, but that's when I started going to events as well. That's my first year at Adepticon, my first year at Nova. Coalescence, this was the Coalescence's first year, which was the narrative gaming day set up by the Neo Network, narrative event organizer, Neo. And then also...
By the way, hashtag bring back Coalescence.
Yeah. And also, this is the first Ren 4 I went to, because, Neil, we met officially at Adepticon that year. I mean, we met on Twitter, but we got to meet and know each other.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't realize how close you were. So, which Ren 4?
3.5 hours being close.
People
in England are shuddering.
Okay, so this was the Ren 4 Season 3 tournament, Winter 2017. Let me see. Was this the singles or the doubles? I think this was singles.
This is singles. This is 12
singles
people.
Was the first one.
This was 12 people in this tournament.
Yes, I remember. Yeah. I brought my corn because I saw your corn, and I decided to do my corn because Matt gave me a lot of corn. Because Matt, you, and Alex were going to do a Path to Glory where we chose each a Chaos God, and I was going to do Slanesh. And then you went and bought all the Juan Diaz Daemonettes. You bought all this Slanesh stuff, and then you felt bad, so you gave me your corn. I remember that was the worst tournament as far not as far as I had a blast. It was great, but the worst dice rolling tournament of my life. I did not win a priority until turn 3, game 3, which was the last game of the day. And at that point, I didn't have anything left. It was awful.
In that tournament, one of the things that was fun for me to do, and I'm always trying to figure out new kind of innovative ways to do things, and so I would interview people post game.
Oh yeah.
So as you finished your game, I would interview you. I'd take a video of you on my ridiculous iPhone, and I'd post to the club. So for people who weren't at the tournament, one of my ways to try and get people more interested in this was interviewing people afterwards. So that was a lot of fun. I haven't done it since, and so there's your first Warhammer TV experience. I was here first. Just saying.
Are we gonna get that at Battle Across the Realms?
We'll see. Those interviews are happening during the games.
Yes. hey, look at what Realms at War does. They do that stuff during the games. It's fun. Just be quick, be out. But also being my first Adepticon, I can also remember this was when working with my friend Tyler Emerson, Scrubbing Wells on Twitter. We got GW and all the big names we could think of in the Age of Sigmar community at the time in the U.S. together in a hotel room at Adepticon. And to me, this is really whenever GW wants to know what the community wants and how we can help. And it was such a great experience. I was scared to death because everyone in that room was people I looked up to. It's people I never thought I'd talk to. And then there's one distinct moment I can remember. After nerves calm down and we're all chatting and we're figuring out and offering ideas to GW, and they're listening, and they did a lot to implement it, and it was great getting to know everybody. But there's one time I had an idea pop in my head, and to piggyback off someone, I opened my mouth and went to say something, and you're in a room of 20 people, and you look up to 20 people, very, very, because you just met them. I look up to all of them. All of their mouths just shut, and they all looked at me at the same time, and I was just don't say... I don't remember what I said, but apparently it wasn't dumb. Because all I could think of was, don't say something dumb here.
That's when Chuck, when you brought me in on one of those meetings, I had the exact same feelings going on, and I'm pretty sure I did say something dumb.
That's, but I mean, those. I've continued to set up and help Pete Foley and GW, have those groups gather to help give feedback to Games Workshop, and they listen, and real friendships have developed out of that between Games Workshop and people in the community too, which is just fun to see, because that's whenever we all started realizing, like, okay, we all just love these games. Let's just make it the best we can. That's all we all care about here. Mm-hmm.
For those of you guys too, like just having been in that room with the Warhammer community guys, I mean, they really do love this game as much as every one of us. I mean, it was a joy to get in there and even talk to them for a little bit of time, and they're more than willing to engage with you. Just nicest group of guys. They really want to know what you're thinking about, and they're sitting there in that meeting and they're scribbling notes like crazy. Yep. I mean, it's not just lip service. They are listening to everything that everybody says. Now, whether they've got ultimate veto power, of course,
absolutely.
Right? But they're But they're listening, right? Yeah. And that's all you can ask for, is that somebody listens.
When you have Pete Foley, Ben Johnson, and Jess Bickman in the room listening and taking notes because they care, it was such a good feeling to know that this community in this game, it's really going to go somewhere special because we're all in this together, and it really felt like that. And then, wasn't much longer after that, like, these things really started taking off because the 40K community was, rallying too with what they had going on. I've been in and out of 40K, so I don't know their community history like the Age of Sigmar one, but it's like Warhammer TV happened, I think, around this time, and their interaction was just flawless. Now, I will say too, this was also the first year I went to Nova Open, and Matt, you came with me, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe that was the first event. That's the first event I went to for wargaming, and then
because we did the teams. We were both Stormcast. We were Thunder Buddies.
Yeah, Thunder Buddies. Still got the shirt.
So great.
I remember Vince Ventrella walking up, because I had met him at Adepticon, walking up to us and like, "Oh, there's your armies," and he's like, "I like the blue ones," which were Matt's, and I was just like, "Oh, damn." But yes, that's also where I opened my mouth at Nova and was wondering why the GT was allowing unpainted models, which then leads into 2018. Spoilers, where I started as the TO for the Nova Open GT, because the prior gentleman, I believe his name is Brian, he ran a fantastic event. Like I said, it's differences aside of whether you like painted or unpainted models in events at that level, he ran a great event, but he was unable to come back, so that's why they said, "Hey, you open your mouth, can put your money where your mouth is," and I did. Yeah. It was fun.
As a quick aside, I'd like to point out that if I didn't have as great of a time as I did at that event, I wouldn't have gone to any others. And now look at us.
Yeah. Well,
I was at that event as well, Chuck, and I had a blast, and that was when you ran it as 6 games. Right.
Yeah.
And and so I had my Order Draconis 6 games, baby.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
20 minutes of table time for that.
Listen, all I have to say is, thank God Matt was with me in running that event, because boy, do you I learned quick how much work goes into like any event. I knew like running events at the club, but like it was a whole new level. Like, and Matt has the best picture, and you should put it up on Twitter. It was the most candid shot. It was like end of the day of the second day, and he's like, "Hey Chuck, look here," and it's one of the few pictures where you see me and I just look upset, I look defeated, like the only emotion on my face is, please give me a bed and a bottle.
I mean, I remember I felt like an emotional EMT that whole day. Like sitting there with the emotional paddles. Okay, Chuck, everyone's having a good time. Clear.
Yeah. But it was a weird feeling to like, nothing was going wrong. I mean, Age of Sigmar is a great system, and it's very simple. And all the questions, especially at that time, like there was no hard rules question. But I was constantly anticipating something going wrong. So my adrenaline did not stop until that final game ended.
So
like I remember being up in the bar Sunday night with Pete Foley, and he's just like, he hands me a beer. He's like, "Smile, you don't have to do anything tomorrow." And I was just like, you're right. Like I just couldn't turn off. It was weird, but.
So at this point in knowing Chuck, I've been to 2 Coalescence events that he'd run. He'd been to multiple events that I'd run. Hangout days in between, multiple Adepticons, and so I remember finishing this game, and I see him over there, like standing next to one of the tables, and Chuck had been kind of perusing the tables as he does during these events, and so I go running up to Chuck. I'm like, "Hey, guess what? This happened," and he just puts up a finger like this, and apparently he's in the middle of a rules dispute. The look on your face was just like it was just all business. I was like, "Oh," it just ran away.
He definitely looked like someone had microwaved his brain and then dehydrated it. Like,
yep.
Oh god.
But that said, I mean, we'll get to 2019 later. But it was much easier, much better because of. We'll talk about when we get there. But like I said, Adepticon happened. It was great. GW continued to want to meet with the community. Things are going, as you said, Coalescence. I went to both the Ren 4 events, which I think there was the summer one, and then the winter one was the first Battle Across the Realms, according to my little notes here.
Mm-hmm. So that was the one that we did all the awards. So all my awards are always random because the way I feel about it is I just don't want the rich getting richer. So we always do random gifts, and this time we did we wrapped them, and so it was like Santa's bag basically, and we did raffle tickets, whatever, for you got certain for doing whatever, and then we just kind of handed them out randomly too. So and then somebody won the big prize, and I think we were at that point charging $50 because we were still really trying to get the tournaments off that was the first 2-day. The first Battle Across the Realms was the first 2-day.
That was where the keg started too. Or was attempted?
Yeah.
Or was attempted, yeah.
That's also where it ended.
Yeah.
So yeah, somebody won an Archeon. Who was that?
Yeah,
that was me. My name was randomly drawn. And you had the best part is you had the boxes numbered. And you could kind of tell like what was the start collecting box. And I was just like, did anyone choose one yet? And you're like, no. And I was like, I'll take number 1. He threw it to me, and when I was opening it, I thought it was a start collecting box. I'm like, okay, cool, this will be my next army. And I opened the top, and I saw the chaos symbols. I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, we were really happy to be able to do that. That was a lot of fun. I think we had 20 people at that event, and so I always try to have a lot of. I've done different things through different tournaments. Sometimes it was just, whatever your entry fee is, you're getting something, Yeah. So we did dice one year. We did mugs with the Ren 4
T-shirts,
logo on it. T-shirts for the first one, which we need to do again. But and so that year we just did a ton of prize support, a ton.
I still have my Ren 4 T-shirt, mug, and dice.
Yeah, actually, my Ren 4 mug is my mug I use at home. Like, nice. It's always there.
Now, 2019 for Dave, I can remember because I went in 2017.
Well, hold that thought real quick before we go to 2019. We're about to go there, but like 2018 too is also that's when Age of Sigmar 2. We've had Malign Portents, we've had Soul Wars come out, and this is the launch that everyone's going. This should have been the real launch. Like this was a great way to relaunch a game system. And it's still like that. We're still technically in AOS 2. Great rule set, expanded a little bit. Armies are coming out. Everything's just moving and grooving. Community's growing.
But it got rid of all the fun rules, like having to complain with Longbeards in order to get a buff.
You're right. You're not wrong.
We'll still hold you to that one, Matt.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, you can still complain all you want.
I've thought about it. I have all those original PDFs still. I've thought about having like a gaming weekend with some people where we actually use those rules and play like we did, like just to do it. But regardless, all right, we'll shift into 2019 now, and Neil, pick up your story.
So I've been convincing Dave, having been to, was it 2019 was your first, Dave?
It must have been 18.
Maybe it was 18. Okay, so it's 2018 was the first time that I convinced Dave to come out with me. And yeah, because 19 you didn't go. But What was your experience at the first Adepticon? Because mine, I kept on telling him, it's like, Dave, you got to go. I met this person. I met that person. Like, it's like it is like Wargamer Mecca. Like this, if you only do it, you got to do it at least one time. So I finally convinced him to go.
Yeah, my highlight of that weekend was still that Friday game on my birthday, pre-tournament. So I'm signed up for the main event with all the AOS and 170 or 180 people, whatever. And Fridays, my birthday, I don't even know what 37th birthday, and Neil agrees. Yeah, we'll play a practice game. So there we go. I lay out my crappy Seraphon list. He lays out his presumably crappy Khorne list. I don't know. I proceed to win without losing a model. It was fantastic.
Now it's been downhill since then.
I can't believe it. You're going to bring that up again. But
oh, yeah. That's totally
I had not lost to that army, and he got me at a gotcha, and then at that point I just called it.
Oh, yeah.
So this is very much under protest. But
also,
when Dave and I play, it's like
to say too much.
Yeah.
When Dave and I play, it's like two toddlers slap fighting. It's not
toddler bum fight.
Nothing is happening here. There's nothing to see here.
There is no quality play going on.
That was 2018. You said, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that the follow up to that story was that I liked because there's a continuation to the story in my mind. Because Neil, you and I get to fight in the GT.
Yeah.
And I had my Daughters of Cain. This is when they were released. This is when I found my true place in the Mortal Realms, which was with Marathi. And during a club prep day, you had crushed me. Like, book came out like a couple weeks before, and you just destroyed me at a club day, my daughters. So we play in this event, and I know how to play this army now. And I know that I can out-Khorne.
Yeah.
And I proceed to just...
This is game 4, bottom tables.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not doing spectacular. I touched the face of God by being on table 2, round 1, completely destroying my opponent, who was like had a very like chill, very nicely painted Stormcast list, and I ran him over of 90 Witch Elves and like got max points. Then I got to table 1 for the next game, and that's where my fall to grace, because I fell down to 53 by game 3 because I got destroyed. Because we played, and I pulled out the win, and it wasn't like a blowout or anything. It was just like my army.
That was pretty bad.
It was bloody. Both gods were happy. But what made me more happy is knowing that I then sent you to Dave.
Yeah.
For game
Dave and
5.
I were playing on the second to last table.
Yeah, after
literally a bottle
7 hours.
Yeah,
we carpooled 7 hours to Chicago to play each other in round 5. Like, what the hell?
I play 70% of my games against Dave, and I played Chuck in one game of that tournament, and I played.
Yep.
Dave.
And Neil, you remember who was playing right next to us?
It was
Steve Herner and Les Martin.
And Les Martin, yeah.
Yep.
Either one of us would have liked to play either one of those guys, and
just feel switcheroo. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'll tell you, I remember game 6 on Sunday, where I'm trying to simultaneously be the ringer and help with counting up points.
Oh yeah.
And so like I ended up ringing 6 games total, and so I'm like brain dead as well, trying to also resuscitate Chuck every 20 minutes. and so I remember sitting down for the 6th game, and the guy's like, "Oh, so I'm on the bottom table, huh?" And I was like, "Did you have a good time?" And then he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, you're not on the bottom table in your heart." And I was like, so again, I know it's been a long weekend, and I'm brain dead. I'm sure you're brain dead. You get the win no matter what. So if you don't want to play, that's fine. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds like a really good idea." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God, I'm just gonna be able to go back, help." And he's like, "You know what? let's play. I'm like, oh.
This was six. That was a sixth game. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, he was an amazing opponent. He was a great guy, but like, I was so like, just flip me over. I'm done.
But all right. So let's move into 2019. We'll take a look at it. So I didn't realize how much I did in 2019. Holy crap.
That's why you're so burned out in 2020.
Sorry, I caused 2020, guys. So yeah, there was Adepticon. I actually didn't play in the GT this year. I helped Alex Gonzalez with the GT as one of his many helpers, which was where I was learning many lessons, which made 2019 Nova much better than it was. And first and foremost was get lots of help. But I've told many times, but Alex, thank you for letting me help out and teaching me everything that you and Carrie and your whole team do, because you run a great event. Like, depending on, it doesn't matter if you want to do more narrative or competitive or however you want to like do that doesn't matter. But like how to run a great event, Alex does a great job, and I learned a lot. And there's some things I'm like, I can do it differently at Nova, so I'll do it my way there. But like I knew what could work and what wouldn't work after this point. Also, I'm gonna give a little bit of a self shout out here. This is the year I won my Warhammer Hero Medal.
Hell yeah!
Yay. This is also the year where Matt had the worst Uber experience of his life.
Yeah. So I was planning on. So I had literally been working for months on my Stormcast army because I started painting it, and I never really finished after the Nova doubles. But I got it. Like, I got it done, and so I was all excited to be in the GT and everything.
We go to the Warhammer Heroes dinner. We're all dressed up. We have a great time.
Yep, a super great time. And my phone accidentally slips out of my pocket as I'm getting out of my Uber back to my hotel room. And I know it immediately. So, like, I tried to stop the guy, but no, he didn't see me or didn't want to see me, whatever. And so then the next 30 hours from there is like no sleep, no nothing, just trying to get my phone back. Uber's no help. I eventually, and so like I don't remember phone numbers anymore, so I'm trying to get a hold of people that know.
I had
Morgan's number.
Your girlfriend called me or something.
Right.
Like, what?
So I ended up logging on to Facebook at the hotel to try and get a hold of you to try and get Morgan's number so then I could call her from the hotel.
Because you were staying at a different hotel from me. I was at the main hotel. You were on a satellite one. Yeah.
And so it took forever, but eventually what ended up happening was we were able to, because I couldn't log in to my email because I had two-step verification, which required my cell phone. And so whenever but I had my phone, or I had my email account auto log in from my computer at home. So I called Morgan. I eventually got a hold of her. She was able to do it. And so she was sending me pictures of the GPS through Facebook. And so I printed those out and I followed them. And it was literally to a set of apartments half a block away from the townhouse, or from the apartments, or from the hotel room. And thank you to our amazing friend, Steven, who I will forever owe him. I was supposed to be in the GT at this point, and I forget if I think it was between rounds.
He was between rounds, because I was running around helping. Yeah.
And he did his best. He gave me, 20 more minutes than he really had to help me get around to figure out where everything was. And oh man, I'll tell you, it still boils my blood because
I could actually
you could feel it.
I found where I got as close to where I could with the GPS coordinates, and it was inside this apartment building that was literally, I could see my hotel.
Well, here's the thing: to not go too deep and dark down this rabbit hole. I
No,
encourage.
we're going all the way.
No.
now.
We're gonna stop it here because I encourage everybody that sees Matt at the next event, buy him a frosty beverage and ask him about this story. It is because his animation, when he's telling it, is necessary to get the aggression across.
I'll tell you one more piece.
Okay, one more piece.
Uber driver's name was Luis. I remember what you look like. I remember what you drive. I remember your license plate number. I will remember it until the day I die.
I have a certain set of skills.
Oh man. So,
if I end up in your Uber again, I'm gonna open an artery all over your back seat.
he's kidding. He's not actually gonna do this.
Yours or his? That's not clear.
Jerking off happens. But you go ahead and figure out how to get blood semen out of your back seat, because that's what's going to happen.
Oh man!
I'd like to say Matt's going really hard with his bit right now.
Brought to you by
Brush for hire. Paint with Matt's blood.
Blood for the blood god.
Hammer. This virtual audience is over.
Well, okay. Anyway, so, I went to Wapaka this year, which was the penultimate Wapaka. I'm glad I did. It's nice to get to that legendary event. Obviously went to the Ren 4 events. What else? Oh, and Matt, you and I, we went to Holy Havoc. Got to see those. What's that?
Man, I'll tell you, between Ren 4...
You're too quiet, bud.
Hey, a little quiet. Put your mic closer.
Throw it down the hallway.
Professionalism.
We just got to do this now. We got to do a little... Is this better now?
That's a little too loud.
Too loud? How about tell me when?
Perfect. Stop. Right there.
Okay. So, between Ren 4 and Holy Havoc,
it's the only thing that kept you in Age of Sigmar at this point.
Yes,
Because we didn't mention your prior year at Adepticon, you also had a bad experience. You got really sick. We won't explain why, because it's not...
So we'll just, to do as non-detailed as possible, I became extremely sick due to poor hygiene of the hotel.
Yes. Once again, buy Matt a frosty beverage, and he'll tell you this story in an animated fashion. It's great. But yeah, the Ren 4 events were amazing. That's when they were really... You were flying with them.
Also, I'd like to point out that this year was supposed to be... I know we haven't touched 2020 yet, but this year was supposed to be the year that Adepticon was going to go right for me.
Yeah, it was.
Hey, you didn't get sick and you didn't lose your phone at Adepticon this year.
It's true.
Your wish came true.
But I want Neil, Dave, I want you guys to talk about the Ren 4 events this year, because like I said, they were really a great time, and it's really when it's just like this is a event on the calendar. Yeah.
2019 events, yeah. So we did this was the year of the summer, right? So there was this summer?
Yeah, I wasn't able to go to winter.
Was this the hot summer?
This was the hot summer. Yeah.
Okay, so hot summer. So we had new venue at this point.
Yeah.
So we had a new venue at a buddy of mine, Matt Farrell's shop. It's called Battlegrounds. And it's an amazing place. It's got the best tables. They're really high tables. You don't break your back over top of them. They're built out of solid wood. It is amazing. And he's got tables throughout the whole place. But it also happened to happen in the biggest heat wave of the summer. And when I say the biggest heat wave of the summer, I'm telling you, people all over the state, their air conditioning was blowing out.
Yeah.
So it was of no fault of his. And then you put a lot of beef to a small location.
I bring more than my fair share of beef, I'll tell you.
Oh man, we were putting fans in there. I was trying to cool people down as best we can. But even that being said, I mean, it was a great event. It went over really well. I think we've been averaging about 32. Yeah. Matt got to play 5 Skaven. I think there were 5 Skaven players in the tournament. Matt played all 5, just the way it felt.
Yeah.
Hey, they were all different lists.
And what was that record, Matt? What was that record?
0-5.
But Matt had his most amazing gaming week of all time. He killed 3 units over the course of the weekend.
I probably killed at least 1,000 rat men.
Yeah, you're doing Sigmar's work.
Yeah. So
Actually,
that tournament went. Oh, go ahead.
I have to say I was glad for that heat wave because I literally the week before the event I was on vacation in Ocean City with my wife. So I was coming to your event knowing that I was going to have no practice, and I was just like, I'm just going for, you were doing a narrative event. I'm going for the narrative event, and I'm just going to have a chill time.
Did you bring Ideneth?
That was my Ideneth.
And I believe you did take home Lore Master.
I did took home Lore Master, and my display board was literally like, it looked like a beach theme, like a little, like there's a volleyball. I painted up a Sigmar chest, like an igloo cooler, and I grabbed sand from Ocean City and put it on the display board. So that's why if you ever go to the Ren 4 events and you see sand, that's me.
I'm pretty sure it's still
forever.
Yeah.
There's no getting rid of that.
But like I came in, like I was just wearing like the same clothes from vacation, and I was just handing out Mike's Hard Lemonades. I'm like, I'm sure I got some good sports scores too, because it was just like, my beach vacation did not stop. It was just 2 extra days of beach vacation for me.
Well, and your first game was on the beach table.
It was
the table that Neil made out with a bright blue like ocean mat, and you built a oceanfront beach.
I got to play Tyler Meg on that mat. It was great.
Yep, and that actually brings up a good point. That was the first time we had the monsters from Michigan come down a little bit, and so we got to meet those guys. Went out to dinner with them that Saturday night. That was the first time I really got to know some of them, and so that was a lot
Mm-hmm.
too. But Al was a blast. Al was boy.
Now Neil,
Al was drunk at that dinner.
Now Neil, I think that tournament was the first one where you came up with the stories behind the tables. So you had the little story, the narrative hook for each table to go along with the theming and the realm-based terrain and all that stuff. So that's where.
Yeah, we did something that is I think unique and able to be done at a smaller level of a tournament when you're dealing with like 32 guys. Is we had 2 tables in every realm. I think one might have had 3. Or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember how the numbers worked out, but every realm was represented. We played with the realm rules. If the table was in beasts and I had terrain on the table that was like a lot of like the chompy flowers or whatever else, then everything on the table that looked like it should be deadly was deadly terrain. So if you got on that table with the jabber slides running around, and there's a lot of terrain on the table, it's all what I like to think is match play centric, where you can still get your guys in. It's all based and everything, so you can use the match play rules, but at the same time everything will try to eat you, and if it does eat you, good, then that's the way I want it to happen. Okay, I do not care about randomness in if steel rain happens and your whole army gets wiped out, sorry about your luck, but that's awesome.
Like I said, we had forbidden power out at this point, so like you were really able to theme those tables, endless spells running around it. Yeah, so, and I think I've never heard too much from like the real match play centric guys that it just didn't work out in terms of having that little extra narrative in there. It certainly wasn't the here's a mountain over here and here's a mountain on the exact opposite side, and I mean, that's the thing too. Like with this game, like competitive and narrative can blend so well, and I think you branched that so well. Like if you want, you gave a baseline that said you could have a competitive game here and have a good time, or you could swing it to more narrative, depending on what you and your opponent wanted to do. I do have to laugh. Relian from Twitter, Brad Schwant, he brought Slanesh, and Slanesh was when Slanesh was in beast mode.
Slanesh tournament.
And I was just like, whew. I was like. He's like, what kind of list he brought? And he's like, well, I brought the summoner list, but he's like, I'm kind of self-comping myself. I didn't bring anything extra to summon. I'm just gonna summon back what's dead. And then he took that event. I was just like, oh.
Yep. He took it fairly comfortably, if I'm not mistaken.
Brad did what Brad does.
Right.
But he was a hell of a good guy to talk to too. Like I didn't play. I was busy running the game day shenanigans, so Neil could actually participate in the event.
Yeah, this is the.
But talking with Brad, like
we were both running this one.
Oh, that's okay. But I have a personal fear in terms of going to a tournament and running up against these competitive players that I'm going to get my ass kicked and I'm going to hate every second of it. But talking with him, it's like, okay, so I feel like I could line up for a game against him, totally get my ass kicked, maybe roll a 6 or 2 somewhere through the course of the game, but have a good time doing it.
Oh no, that's the thing. Like, I don't know in the Age of Sigmar scene. I don't know any of the high competitive people that are not fantastic to play with, hang out with, and be with. Like that same thing with from like Bill Souza and then Roger and all the Steel City guys that are super competitive. I've never had a bad game. I haven't beat them, but I've never had a bad game. There's actually some of my best games are still against Roger and Bill.
I remember the first time Roger came to one of our tournaments. I think it was that 12-man tournament, right?
Yep.
And I remember looking at his list, and I'm thinking to myself, now I am terrible at this game. All right, and I remember looking at it, and I'm like, I bet you I could make something that could beat that. Now, 2 years later, I'm like, I finally now realize that there's just not, it's never going to happen. So, I remember for that brief glimpse after just meeting him, like, I could beat that. I could do that. I could beat that.
That was the Brass Stampede that he ran.
Yeah.
That was back in the day. Yeah.
There's not a chance I could have beat him.
And actually, give Roger and Bill a shout out too, because this is when they got together the US ETC team.
Yep.
Whenever they took second place, and I'm really thankful because I was able to go and help them at a prep day one day, which is the closest I'll probably get to being on an ETC team, unless they need some logistic support, obviously, of getting water and ordering food. I can handle that. But no, they Bill and Roger, they organized it. They got a team together, went over there, and I think they only lost to Team England. So, like, it was fun being over here. One, being able to root for America in the ETC, and two, knowing that we're rooting for some of our best buddies in this hobby. So.
And what's most important here is that they were honing their skills at the December 2018 Ren 4 event, where they came 1 and 2, Bill and Roger.
Yep.
That's exactly what they were doing. They were clubbing baby seals.
It was really funny. Roger, because that's when I brought 120 witch elves to that one. Like, I brought Hagnar witch elf spam, and I managed to dodge both Bill and Roger, which is why I took best order. Like, I barely dodged Roger, and he's like, where are they at? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, now, but also, to be fair, Bill's army was order, but we gave a separate best general and best order.
Right, as you do, yeah.
Yes, so
I will take Miss.
Not to rain on your parade, but I will totally piss all over your parade.
I'll take it. Oh, you know what I forgot to mention? I'm sorry. We're going to back up to 2018 real quick. One of the best times I've ever had. Realms at War. I went over to England.
Wow. Yeah.
For some reason, I put that in 2019. It's like, no, I did 2018. Realms at War. Mitzi, Jimbo, Steve, and Ming, and they put on such a fantastic event. Everyone over there was super nice. This was also a vacation for me and the wife. Went to Games Workshop, HQ, Warhammer World. Got to play Dan on stream. Got to just hang out and have a good time. A trip I want to do again, but man, like I said, I'll say this over and over again. If you want to go to an event in England and you're not worried about being a competitive event, go to Realms at War.
Right.
One of the best events that you'll ever play in.
I have to say too, just seeing those guys play at Adepticon, seeing them on their, some of them on their podcast and everything, and even knowing the little bit I know about those guys, these are the people that I want to model in myself. Not just running tournaments, but just in the way they approach the game, in their passion for the game, how friendly they are, how welcoming they are in the community. I mean, this, that's what I look up to as, this is how you've made it. If you can get to that level, you've made it in all aspects of the hobby at that point.
To the point too, when I was going over there, I went to Warhammer World, but I wasn't there just to go onto the Warhammer TV stream and play a game against Stan and hang out with Martin as he, we chatted during the game. But Mitzi set up a day where he invited people. So there was just probably about 6 to 8 of us. I can't quite recall the exact number. He invited people to come. Hey, Chuck's coming over. Let's just have a fun game day where we all just play games at Warhammer World and have fun. Mitzi walked with me as we went through the Warhammer Museum, and thanks to Martin Morin who gave me a ticket into there too. Like I felt I felt spoiled there, but like and there was plenty of people that wanted to come that couldn't. But like I said, to your point, like Mitzi and Jimbo are some of the best people I have ever met in this hobby. Dave and Neil, you're a close second.
I'll take that. I'll take that and run with it.
I will pretend that that's a true statement, and I'll take it and run with it too.
I have to say though, my Warhammer heart will always be with Matt though over there.
Woo! Thunder
Buddies for life. Okay. Anyway, sorry, not to go back to it, but yeah, 2019. Did anyone else have anything 2019 related they want to talk about?
That was the first time. So now my wife is very supportive of my hobby. She does not play. I've got her to play one game, and that was enough for her. However, this was Nova was the first time I helped Chuck out in a major tournament. First time I ever helped with a major tournament, and she helped out as well. And so that was a lot of fun to get to do that with my significant other and get her to actually kind of experience the ground level.
Yeah,
what's going on.
I'm glad you segued right into what I was hoping you'd talk about. I had a lot of help at Nova in 2019. Like Matt still led the group. Neil, you and your wife, a couple club members, Jamie, Martin, Orlando. Like it was a complete opposite experience. And like, as I said the prior year, Pete Foley afterwards of the first year, where it was just me and Matt, handed me a drink and said, "You can relax now," because I just couldn't relax. He came and saw me during the event, and he's like, "How's it going?" I'm just like, "I don't know what to do. I'm completely useless in this entire situation." And he's like, "That means you're doing it right." Because literally, I want to say it. Sure, I set up the pack. Sure, I did all that, and I painted the stupid amount of terrain. But Matt also painted a stupid amount of terrain, and so did Sean from Brush for Hire.
Brush for Hire. Son, you just use a condom. Brush for Hire.
From you, all right? I learned it from watching you.
Ooh, don't watch. Anyway.
No, unrelated on the same topic. No.
Okay. But
I learned to pull out from you, Dad. That's where Stephanie comes from.
So yes,
is it a child? Is it a sibling? I don't know.
Nova last year ran so well. There was one hiccup at the end that I still hate. An error with BCP, which was corrected, so it's like whatever, we moved on. I think people had a good time overall, and I made more good friends, but because of you guys helping run the event, you guys really did everything to the point where like literally I was walking around going, I don't know what to do. There's nothing wrong, nothing going on.
So prior to that though, at Ren 4, we had a little hiccup at the sweaty at the sweaty tournament, but learning from that, we were double and triple checking everything during this tournament, everything, and we had an assembly line of double checkers. So I mean, there was points when I was sitting there, I mean, through the tournament, and a lot of this has to do with Age of Sigmar as well. I mean, the rule set is fairly well put together to the point where there's not a whole lot of in-game questions that happen. We're just sitting there literally, and I've got my hands up like this, and I remember, I think it was Scooter comes by, he's like, "Man, you guys are, you know when your hands are up and you're looking like that, the tournament's going pretty smooth." And I'm like, it really is.
Yeah.
It really did go really well. I mean,
Amy, not like she did the work of like 6 people and made it look like it was just as natural as breathing to her.
And not to mention, like, daily coffee runs. I was getting pumpkin spice lattes delivered to me. I'm just like, I did not deserve any. Yeah, like I was like, I don't know why.
Now,
I've had.
Now she
like
then
this.
took those TO assistant tools and brought them to the Ren 4 winter event. That's the one where I was TOing so Neil could play, and Amy was my assistant. So someone who's really not interested in the game. She came out, she sat there with me. Like I talked to Amy like all day, both Saturday and Sunday. and everything was running smooth as silk. And she's there double checking all the scores with me and everything. Just excellent tournament helper. If only her husband was half as useful.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, so prior tournament, it was me and Dave. Things didn't go so hot. Tournament after, Dave and my wife, flawless.
Yeah.
There's a pattern.
We know who the problem child is here.
Well, and that leads us up to 2020, which we all know what's happening in 2020. LVO happens, and I think that was really the only Age of Sigmar or Warp Gaming event that
Hard
happened.
break.
Yeah.
Put it in park, take out the keys, throw it in the river.
But, people, like, the community is still interacting, still engaging. I've managed to paint everything I own, which was great.
Almost.
I mean, I have Luminous stuff now, yeah. But
I will say, though, too, at the end of 2019 and going into 2020, that is what. So outside, like running a lot of the club. And Chuck, you were talking about how you were asking for more help. That was after that summer, the Sweaty Summer tournament. That's when I started asking for more help, and I was very, very close to getting burnt out with everything that I was doing. And so I took a step back. That's why Dave ran that tournament, and my wife helping out as well for me, because, I was at a point, too, where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have one in the winter. I just, And so as we move into 2020 here, as much as this has been terrible and has sucked, it is really reinvigorated, giving me a moment to kind of step back, take a little bit of a break, and now kind of reinvigorated me into, hopefully putting something together that's really special. So if I can take a silver lining from this whole experience, that's probably it.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
as someone that, since I didn't really, it's weird not helping with the tournament, but I never did anything to help you guys with Ren 4.
Yeah, you lazy bastard.
You know it, man.
Freeloader.
But you guys made it look effortless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's also, I mean, we're running it for, I think we had 20 or 24 maybe. I think it was 20 when we ran it in December, and it was 30 in the summer. So they're a smaller scale too. Now, Neil, it was 30. We had 16 tables. There were 2 no-shows. So we had 30 players.
Outside of septuplet Skaven matches,
No, we it was actually really hard to line that up for you, Matt. You should be thankful.
We went out of our way.
A lot of bribing.
I went home early to figure out that shit.
But 2020 has been a trying year. Like I said, silver linings. Like, I know, like myself too. Like, being able to paint everything and not have a backlog now is really great. Been able to really refocus. I do plan on, for your narrative event, Neil, to have my full Teyrathian supplement book laid out, written, and printed, that I can take to it and give away to my opponents. But yeah, I guess
you also have to condense it down to like a page or 2 for the
that'll be
event booklet.
That'll be the event lore, but I'm talking full supplement.
No. There's no condensing. I don't care if you make that shit 100 pages. We'll make this just a big supplement. We'll do what we gotta do.
But if that's what Chuck's going to do, he's going to subsidize the printing costs.
Dang it. Okay.
Well, actually, my wife has a little hookup there, so we'll be all right.
All right.
Nice.
So, I guess
Amy comes through again.
It's true.
When's Amy getting her Warhammer Hero Championship?
I know, right? Just like, behind every great man kind of thing,
Yeah.
And also behind Neil.
And also behind me. Yeah.
I guess to start bringing everything to a close. Dave, we'll start with you. This is your final test to see if you're going to be a permanent host with us or not.
Whew.
Give us your brief overview of what you've thought about these past 5 years of Age of Sigmar.
Oh man, brief overview, huh? I'll just stall for time. That'll work. So honestly, I got in because I was getting stir crazy. I needed something to do with myself. I had moved to Ohio. I had lived here 5 years, had nobody that I really connected with, and I started really building up a bunch of friends in the gaming community. And so Age of Sigmar has been huge for me as just a functional human being. I mean, this is my therapy. So Ren 4 and getting together with the Ligonier Legion group every so often, not as often as I'd like, but
and the Steel City Sigmar group.
And Steel City Sigmar. I did make that one trip out to Pittsburgh for that. It's been amazing. Like the people that I've met, it's phenomenal. It's what keeps me going, and I have just taken the first step towards running a little Firestorm campaign with Neil and a couple of guys at Matt Farrell's local shop to try to dig up some more cool stuff to do, because I think it was interesting hearing you talk at the beginning of this discussion about how the point system and everything was community driven, because that's all we had. And I really wonder if we'll see sort of a second renaissance of that stuff after all this COVID and the quarantine and no one's able to play games. It'll be interesting to see if there's a huge surge as the floodgates open and people are open to trying new things. For instance, if you haven't yet played Triumph and Treachery, it is the best way to play the game, period.
Yep.
It's the correct answer. So that's my shenanigans there. I'm all talked out.
All right. Neil, same question. Let's why don't you show Dave how it's done?
Well, one thing I'll say is, as we came into Age of Sigmar, one of the things that was kind of I don't know, spoken about a lot was the phrase "it's your hobby," right? And that phrase has really guided me and what I wanted out of this hobby and what I wanted out of community building from day one in this to now and into the future here. And what I would challenge people to do as you kind of move forward with this hobby and in this event is to think about what that means. It's your hobby. What do you love about this hobby? And how can you include as many people as possible into the hobby, knowing that their way may not be exactly the same as yours, and how can you make that meet? One of the things I did was with the hobby hero thing is to try and get people who love painting and people who love gaming and together and to somehow make all that work together. And as we kind of go into this new event, that is really the push too. If you can kind of hear it in like the making your goals, how do you want to win? How do you want to experience this event? How do you want to really, bring out what you love about this hobby into an event type situation, into a narrative type situation, into whatever? That's kind of really taken from day one with Age of Sigmar. What I think makes it a little bit different than some other game systems is that it allows you to kind of mold it to what you want. You can kind of take what you want out of it. But I would say also try to look for ways to merge that with the other ways of playing and the other ways people like to engage in it. And if you can find a way to do that in your own communities, with your own group of friends, you're going to pull so much more out of this hobby than you possibly you ever thought you could. Really, I talk to Dave on a daily basis. I try to tell Dave, I'm like, you like painting, you like it.
Nope.
Dave does not like it. He will do it, and he will do it much better than I will because he is OCD about everything. But he does not like that particular part of the hobby. But he will do it, and he will engage with that. But there are different things that he likes out of the hobby, and so I just try to keep that in the back of my mind all the time whenever I'm in event planning. Is how do we include everybody? And I think that's kind of in 2020. Maybe that's an important point to make right now, because I think that that point's being made throughout society right now, and even from GW right now is let's try to find a way to include everybody and try to really focus on making this a great hobby for everybody to experience, hopefully at the same time, and we're only going to go strength to strength.
Yeah, very well put. Very well played.
He rambled at least as much as I did. I want to point that out. Like that.
All right. Well, Matt, the consummate professional. I pose the question to you.
Well, after Dave and Neil's westward and eastward answers, what was the question again?
Tell me.
What is your name?
Yeah. Tell me what these past 5 years of Age of Sigmar are like. Like, what have they meant to you?
Well, I mean, as far as that goes, prior to, I've been in the hobby for over a decade, but I was never like, I don't know, I was never a part of the hobby, I guess. It was always just, collect some Space Marines, come up with a 2,000 point list, go play someone I knew once a quarter, twice a year. But it really took Age of Sigmar, it really took it really took Ligonier Legion, Ren 4, Steel City, to really get me into everything. And, I mean, it's just an amazing part. I look at, 5 years ago, again, I had, maybe 10, 20 painted models. Now I have 3 painted armies, 3.5. And I've helped run 2 national events. I've come up with rule sets for 2 national narrative events. And I'm just like, I'm not really, even though I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on, anything like that, I've still been what I feel is like a major contributor, even if it's from the shadows. And it's been an amazing experience to really be an individual who's still able to make such a footprint, whether it's known or not. It's really been a great outlet for a lot of creative juices and creative ideas that otherwise don't have anywhere to go.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's been a fun journey, and like I said, I'm really happy that I've had you guys with me through it all. Obviously Matt a little bit longer than Neil or Dave, but you guys were very close after that. But I know for me, these past 5 years has been all about developing friendships that just are here for life. Like people that I love seeing, that I love talking to on a daily basis. People that I know that will, probably do more for me than I might think. Like, literally probably, give me a shirt off the back if they could, type thing. But
if you need shelter for the night, you can have my shirt.
Yes. But yeah, but like it's been very formative these past 5 years, because as I've grown and changed, and like, I went through a couple years ago. I think it was 2018. I can't quite remember exact when, but like I had a health incident where, I thought it was a seizure. It wasn't, but like, the state took my license. It was a big thing. Like, and I wasn't doing any real fitness stuff at that point, but that really is what drove me to start getting in shape. And then I was like, I'm going to bring this and just be me, because I like being me on Twitter. Like, I'm not a face that's fake. So like, but like people really gathered and whether they're joining me in fitness stuff when I do all my Stormcast Strong stuff, it's fun to see that they all support me and encourage me and like cheer for me when I have my successes. So it just developing these deep friendships and playing this wonderful game and just being able to have a place that I don't really feel like Age of Sigmar is an escape. It's just something that's a part of me. I don't need to get away from anything, because I feel like I have a very blessed life, but it's just meant the world to me to have made all these friends and enjoying this story and this lore and letting my creativity flow. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have Age of Sigmar and like wargaming in general, but I'd probably maybe I'd just be I'd be a bodybuilder. I'd be on steroids. I'd be no, I wouldn't. I can't live that life. But yeah, Yes, one day. If I keep painting witch elves, I need to pick them all up. But yeah, it's just been an amazing 5 years, and I can't wait for what's coming in the future, and then seeing where the next 5 years go. I love the Age of Sigmar community. I do worry as we grow. I do see. Let's have a little real talk. I'm on my soapbox. I'm going to talk. I see some segmentation in it, and some people want to call out other people and want to do this and want, and I'm not talking about being negative or positive. Like, I'm more positive. I get that some people are more negative, and that doesn't matter. Everyone has opinions. I'm just talking about we're all in this together. We're all the same Age of Sigmar family, so talk to each other. We're all humans. If there's something that's bothering you, just talk to them. Don't play high school games. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep this strong community as it is, strong and welcoming. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see in the next 5 years, is us just growing together more as a community and getting larger and larger. Yeah, that's
Hopefully we never make it back to a point where people are burning their armies to get the community to the wonderful point that it was at the start.
Listen, I mentally took it upon myself to take that guy that burned his Witch Elf armies and be like, I'm going to give Witch Elves a safe haven. I will send me all of your orphaned Witch Elves. I will take them. But yeah, let's continue to be open and welcoming, and let's keep growing together, guys. So, happy 5 years, Age of Sigmar, and I'll put all of our where we can be found in the show notes below. But Matt, can you take us out with a Brush for Hire story time?
Absolutely. Brush for Hire! There on the high seas, a storm of brews. Will they make it? Will they see the night? They must. They have to. For Brush for Hire is over the horizon. Painting those 1,000 grots, each a unique color, a color no man has seen before. Nay, this storm will not take us, for those grots will be seen, and they will be put on the table. Brush for Hire.